Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today this is the KSM video. For the people who don't know what I'm talking about, KSM Keystone Season Master's one achievement, which basically involves not getting your plus 25 keys or best keys in the world, getting your plus 15s, what the majority of community is trying to achieve right now. This video is going to try and answer the question of which healer will or can give you the highest advantage when trying to get this achievement. And in this video I'm going to be using different parameters. The ranking for the healers is going to be very different from when you're looking at these highest keys done in the world. We're going to be basing it on multiple different things when it comes to unorganized groups, when it comes to pug scenarios. We're not looking at the best keys or the best players in the world. We're looking at healers that can potentially help you to carry a team to that plus 15 dungeon, which in turn will help you to get that achievement. So before we're gonna get started, this is going to be for season 1, and if enough people gonna watch this or like this, we might gonna do a video for every single season when it comes to Shadowlands in World of Warcraft. And again, I have to mention the parameters I'm going to be using to basically rank the healers, and it's very important for you to kind of know exactly why I'm basing or putting a healer in A tier or C tier or whatever. So first of all, we have to look at ease of play. A lot of players might argue that every healer is relatively easy to play, but I can definitely make an argument for certain healing specs being, how do I say, or their healing priority being easier to pick up for new classes and maybe easier to master at the very beginning of their World of Warcraft playing careers. So that is going to be my requirement, or one of the requirements. And on top of that, we're also going to be looking at every single healing spec and how they deal with certain affixes, specifically with Grievous and Bursting. We're looking at poke scenarios, we're looking at groups that are going to extend bursting, we're looking at groups that are going to take avoidable damage, and they're going to get that extra Grievous proc. Can your healing spec or can a healing spec deal with these situations in a good and easy way? And one of the last parameters is probably going to be community perception, but I'm not going to be putting a lot of emphasis on community perception. At the end of the day, you need to get invited, but I'm hoping to kind of change certain community perceptions with this video, because a lot of people that consider certain specs to be really bad, I consider them to be quite good when it comes to these pug situations. So again, the basic consensus of this, what healer can help you to carry a dungeon? So I've basically done at least a plus 15 on every single healing spec with a lot of different variations of certain healers in terms of like Discipline Priest, in terms of Holy Priest, using Flash Concentration, going with Holy Paladin, using Beacon of Virtue, using Glimmer, and I've basically done a lot of these keys at this key level in order to create a ranking, something similar to this that you can see right now on your screen. And we're gonna start off with healers that I found to be the most difficult. Keep in mind, guys, disclaimer, if you're a good player, you can pick up any of these classes and you can have an easy time or a good time progressing your healer in this game. This is just based on my experience when doing these book situations. So, and we're gonna start off with the B tier, and it's going to be Discipline Priest. Now, why am I putting Discipline Priest? What happened? Discipline Priest is worse than Holy Priest now? What's going on? That's exactly what's happening, at least in pug situations. I have to say that over the last couple of weeks, if not months, I have found Holy Priest to be a very good pug group healer with Flash Concentration. But we're going to cover that for the Holy Priest. The reason I put Discipline Priest here, there are multiple reasons. First of all, they do have good utility. PI, Power Infusion, is very strong, but in pug situations, it does lose value when you put it on a DPS, and the DPS has no idea they have Power Infusion. Especially with the fact that Discipline Priests are one of the best legendaries is to do with double PIs, or you get PI when you put it on somebody else. You still have that strong utility with Master Spell that can be really strong during bursting, and Priest becomes one of the best healers during bursting weeks when you can use that Master Spell. You have Mind Suit if you want to do some juicy skips. So why am I placing Discipline Priest here? I'm basically looking at your, again, poke situation. A lot of the times, if there is too much AoE damage happening, like Grievous weeks, you'll notice that you're gonna go into Shadowman spam, and Shadowman spam does not feel fun or optimal. And I know Discipline Priest has talents like Shadow Covenant or legendaries that are not really group dependent to make certain affixes feel better, but over the duration of my testing with Discipline Priest, I found that a lot of the times with avoidable damage or heavy avoidable damage, Discipline Priest can feel a little bit iffy in terms of their, you know, spell rotation or healing rotation when you have to cast Shadow Man too many times, like I talked about it before. And I do feel that its sister or brother spec, Holy Priest, for the first time ever, I can really comfortably say, is a better spec to carry your healer to that KSM levels. I think Discipline Priest is going to be a very strong healer when you get to those hierarchies, with damage reduction is going to be a bigger deal, and your DPS or passive DPS is going to be a really important factor. Keep in mind, there's still a lot of debate which healer is better in terms of damage, because you have to remember that Holy Priest can actually output a substantial amount of DPS, but Holy Priest has to decide, am I gonna use that global cooldown to DPS, like cast a Holy Fire, or in terms of Discipline Priest can just use Smite, and that is going to give you Atonement Healing. So a lot of the times at the end of the dungeon, for the overall DPS portion, Discipline Priest is going to be higher purely because it had more time to DPS. So there is a lot of positives and negatives for Discipline Priest, but I feel at this level, you're probably better off going Holy Priest. You can make this work, but I feel like for a new player, in terms of the parameters that I mentioned at the start of the video, Holy is going to be a little bit better. So now let's move on to the next healer that I'm going to be placing at the B tier as well, and that is going to be your Holy Paladin. And people are going to be like, whoa, wait up. Holy Paladin is literally the best healer right now. If you look at these 25, 26 keys being done in the world, there is like an insane amount of players who are re-rolling to Holy Paladin, and MadSkillz here is putting Holy Paladin on B tier. I agree with that. I agree that in the highest keys in the world, where a group is extremely organized, Holy Paladin is the best healer right now, whether it's going to be Mythic Plus or Raids. I think Holy Paladin is the king. Why is it the king? If you look at the Holy Paladin Mythic Plus meta, especially if you look at Venti, Ashen Hollow, 4-minute cooldown, running with Mad Paragon, you're sacrificing an insane amount of, let's say, continuous burst healing that you can get from Divine Toll every 1 minute, that you can get from, for example, running your Shock Parry in terms of absorption. Now, Holy Paladins are doing this. Holy Paladin at this moment, with Venti, with Mad Paragon, is basically a DPS spec with off-healing capabilities. You need a group, and I mean a giga group, that can or will not take any avoidable damage, will actually help you with defensives, and sometimes with off-healing. And in those kind of situations, Holy Paladin is really extremely strong. Are you going to find that in your average KSM type of pug? Absolutely and utterly not. From my personal experience, doing these pug situations with Holy Paladin, you absolutely have a direct advantage by running your Kyrian, by running your Divine Toll, having a 1-minute cooldown. There's multiple different builds that can help out with Holy Paladin's cooldown dependence, with Awakening becoming a super popular option both for Venti and Kyrian, because it has a chance of giving you wings. Because what happens when Holy Paladin has no wings, has no Holy Avenger, has no Divine Toll? Their healing is really kind of super average, and you cannot really carry a dungeon when you have no cooldowns. So this is why Awakening has become the meta. And again, there is a lot of different builds that I ran for things like previous weeks, where I was running Beacon of Virtue, where I was running Holy Avenger, because I needed those additional cooldowns. And if I had those cooldowns, it felt pretty good. Now, if you run Beacon of Virtue, you're sacrificing a ton of single target healing because you don't have a beacon, because you don't have that glimmer transfer to beacon. And there is a lot of advantages or disadvantages that you have to make before entering a key. Do I need single target? Do I need AoE healing? Do I feel I need to go this like babysitting build with Beacon of Virtue, or do I feel like I can go this, you know, super DPS build? And this is why I kind of felt that Holy Paladin was a little bit lower than a lot of other healers in terms of KSM potential, because it is a melee healer. It is extremely cooldown dependent, but Awakening is helping with that. You can run that Beacon of Virtue AoE build if you feel really uncomfortable in those previous weeks, which I've done, but you're sacrificing single target healing. A lot of the times, this cooldown dependence and these kind of talent choices is gonna overcomplicate Holy Paladin, and I feel it deserves the B spot at this given point. And now we're moving into the A tier, and without a particular order, because I just couldn't figure out the little differences between the next couple of healers I'm going to be placing here. So we're gonna start off with Resto Druid. Now, Resto Druid received some juicy changes in 9.05, where they basically became the HPS kings. All of a sudden, their HPS output is pretty much unmatched in raid situations. And in Mythic Plus, with Verdant Infusion, the single target legendary that you can extend your scenario word multiple times, has made them, and I say probably, but it's definitely at the moment very factual, the best single target healers in the game out there, which means that your tank is going to take a lot of damage, and you can negate a lot of that damage by placing a lot of HUDs, putting scenario word, using Swiftman to extend it, and you can extend it again. And it's really, again, the mastery stacks, the healing, it's going to be really, really strong. So if you know how to play this legendary, if you know how to play your Resto Druid by pre-HUDing, and a lot of people, this is where Resto Druids kind of fall. If there is avoidable damage, avoidable AoE damage that happens in a split second, people will panic because you don't have your HUDs out, you don't have your HUDs rolling, your mastery ticking and things like that. So it can become a bit of an issue for new players who are not sure about damage patterns in a Mythic Plus dungeon. But generally speaking, Resto Druid, highest HPS healer right now, very strong single target, good utility, and I always laugh at this. Right now, people are saying like, why is Resto Druid not the best healer? And people, or some people are like, because they don't have a good utility. But in BFA, when Resto Druids were the best healers, everyone was saying it was because or due to their utility. Resto Druid has good utility. You have your Juicer Typhoon if you do spec into that balance affinity. You have, Ursak Vortex, Soothe, which becomes really, really strong. Balres, which gets really kind of undervalued, and in puck situations, Balres can actually save a key. You have good healing on the move, you have decent dispels, you have invisibility. Resto Druid utility is very, very good, and it's up there. The reason why I didn't place it in like higher tiers is because I feel that a lot of times new players are going to misplay their pre-hotting aspect of Resto Druid, because you do have to kind of pre-hot if you're not sure about the dungeon, and also dealing damage can be awkward. You can't just use that Sunfire, Moonfire, but if you want to do good damage, you're gonna have to use your Convoke the Spirits from Night Fae, and a lot of the times optimizing that Convoke the Spirits can be really awkward. But on the flip side, Resto Druid, in my opinion, is the best Prideful healer because you have those cooldowns. You have that Trank, you have that Convoke the Spirits, you have Flourish that can be used to extend your HOTS, and also because you have Scenario Word with Verdant Infusion, with those extensions, you can basically forget about one person. One person that gets those HOTS, extended, they're gonna get healed to full during Prideful no matter what. You can focus on other players during that time, and Resto Druid is a very solid healer to get you that KSM achievement. And now we're gonna move in to the Mistweaver category. And oh my god, Mistweaver is always ranked as the lowest healer. What's going on here? MadSkillz has gone crazy. He's ranking Mistweaver better than Holy Paladin in terms of KSM achievement. And I stand by this any day of the week. I've been playing my Fist-Weaving Monk quite a bit. I've been using that Fist-Weaving Legendary, which is really strong. A lot of the times Mistweaver and Holy Paladin are going to be compared because they are melee healers. They have to stay in melee and DPS. Holy Paladin, or actually Mistweaver, probably has a better alternative in terms of being a ranged healer, but I genuinely feel that in order to optimize your healer to reduce the mana cost, you have to play Fist-Weaving, and Fist-Weaving is going to be extremely efficient in terms of not only the spell extensions, because you're going to be running Rising Mist, you're going to be providing damage. And believe me, Mistweaver's damage is nothing compared to what Holy Paladin provides. So it can feel very discouraging when you're trying your best, you're optimizing your Fist-Weaving, but your damage is only going to be a fraction of what Holy Paladin provides. But you have to remember, Mistweaver's healing, I think, is really, really good in terms of on-demand bursts and things like that. So we have to look at Prideful healing. I do feel that Chi G is one of the best abilities that a healer has when dealing with Prideful. First of all, it has a 3-minute cooldown, it has a long duration, it creates huge burst healing due to Enveloping Breath. If you're not familiar with how Enveloping Breath works with Enveloping Mists, it basically allows your undergeared, and I have a really severely undergeared Mistweaver that I used to push like 15 keys and stuff like that with, and Prideful was never an issue because of Chi G. And if you're carrying, if you're running Weapons of Order, honestly, nothing's gonna kill you during Prideful. The only disadvantage of Mistweaver, I have to say, is right now is that you have to be melee, and melee can be severely awkward, but you have a lot of utility. You have your Ring of Peace, you have your Monk buff in terms of physical damage increase on mobs that you hit, and I do feel that Mistweaver is an extremely solid Mythic Plus healer that is severely underplayed. Very recently, Blizzard has reduced the mana cost of multiple Mistweaver abilities, so mana feels a little bit better. I do feel that Mistweaver can deal with affixes like Grievous with bursting really well. Your Essence Font is an integral part of your healing rotation because with Fist-Weaving Legendary, you have to cast it. And if you optimize your Fist-Weaving Legendary, honestly, it might be one of your top heals, or should be your top heal in Mythic Plus Dungeon, depending on what affix. So all of a sudden, there is a lot of reasons to go Fist-Weaving, and Fist-Weaving is going to provide you with a lot of benefits. But I do feel that in order for Mistweavers to be picked up in the next few patches in terms of player popularity, they need to become overpowered. They need to become overpowered for a patch so people flock to them, because right now, the biggest obstacle to Mistweaver is the community perception. It is ridiculously bad, but when you compare it to their actual output, they're really good. Or at least they're pretty good. And in my opinion, they can give you a really good chance at that KSM healing achievement. And the next healer that's going to join the A tier is going to be your Holy Priest. And MadSkillz has gone crazy. Holy Priest, Mistweaver, all of these healers rank quite high. Holy Priest has become, I think, one of the best, if not the best, recommendation for new players coming into Mythic Plus, coming into raiding. Holy Priest has always been as like, a great healer to start for beginner healers, but honestly, Flash Concentration has made this a completely viable and extremely strong healer to push keys. And we're not only talking about 15s, we're talking about 20 pluses. Holy Priest healing, which is really weird with flash concentration. You basically use or cast 5 flash heals in order to get this buff. That's gonna make your heal extremely efficient and extremely strong. And with certain talents, you're gonna get splash healing out of it. Again, as long as you maintain this buff, you are like this single target turret. And with Guardian Spirit, you have an insane tank cooldown, especially if you're playing with a tank that has a lot of self-healing, because Guardian Spirit is going to buff that as well. On top of the fact that you should be running Resonant Word Conduit, which is going to increase or provide you an on-demand single target healing burst after using Holy Word spells. Now you have multiple ways of using Holy Word spells, and after doing that, your heal is gonna be like, for example, 40% stronger. This is insane based on the actual item level of the conduit, but you can see how this conduit is feeding into this Holy Priest flash concentration meta. And on top of that, you have a healer that has a lot of utility. You have the same utility as Discipline Priest. You have your mind suits for crazy skips that you want to do, like in Mist of Tyran's Sight. You have your Master Spell for bursting weeks. You have your PI if you want to give it to your Fire Mage, who's going to come boost and is going to be very, very tankful. So the main difference between Holy Priest and Discipline Priest is damage reduction and DPS output. And I honestly feel Holy Priest can actually provide a good DPS output if you get a little bit more time to DPS. Again, Holy Fire is really strong right now. So I have to say, there's not a lot of bad things that I can say about Holy Priest with flash concentration doing these plus 15 keys. It was one of the easiest experiences that I had, especially when dealing with Grievous. If you're a priest and you're approaching a Grievous week, I will 100% of the time will go towards Holy Priest rather than Discipline Priest. And I know it can feel like I'm bashing on Discipline Priest a lot, but I'm trying to showcase that Holy is back. Holy is very, very much comparable to Discipline Priest, both in these keys and really high keys. You can make both work, and Discipline Priest is probably going to be still a very much preferred option in really, really high keys. But I think Holy Priest is going to be close, and you should not feel embarrassed for playing Holy, because Holy community perception for a very long time was really, really poor, and I hope that's going to change in the very near future. And Holy definitely deserves to be in A tier, maybe possibly even S tier in the future. So guys, let's go to, and you can see who's going to be next. It is going to be kind of memey for me to put Resto Shaman here, and I have thought about this for a very long time, because I honestly was going to put Resto Shaman here, but I placed it in S tier for one single ability, and that is Wind Shear. That is Interrupt, 12-second ranged interrupt. It is one of the best ranged interrupts you can get, and honestly, it is one of those things that's gonna carry a group. And I love to hear your comments on this. I've thought about this for a decently long time, because again, Resto Shaman HPS output is very comparable to all of these. You do have these oh crap moments with your Spirit Link, Ascendance, very, 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 very strong. You do have AoE Stone, which is really, really nice. You do have Bloodlust, but again, the meta does have a Fire Mage in it, so Bloodlust kind of does lose some of its uses, because a lot of times you will have a Fire Mage, maybe even a Frost Mage, because they're getting pretty good. Maybe even Elemental Shaman, because that is part of the meta. So technically the utility of Resto Shaman is strong, the healing is strong, but there's two aspects that made Resto Shaman S tier. First of all, Interrupt. Interrupt is so strong, whether it'll be interrupting Gore Splatter and things like, you know, Necrotic Quake, whether it'll be dealing with the small adds in Tear of Pain. Like, there is just so many times where a single interrupt or missed interrupt is possibly going to wipe a group. And as a Resto Shaman, you can technically solo these by using your Stun Totem and by using your interrupt, and hopefully that mob is going to be dead already. And the group might not even know which mob to interrupt, which mob to focus, but you as a healer have soloed that pack, if you know what I mean. This is why I feel interrupt is such an integral and important part of healer toolkit when it comes to these 15 or lower keys. Being able or aware of which mob has that priority interrupt is going to carry. On top of that, you have good healing and you have simple healing. Resto Shaman has a very simplistic healing rotation with basically, when it comes down to, if you really think about this, Riptide Healing Surge. If you have mana issues, replace Healing Surge with Healing Wave. If you're dealing with Prideful, use Healing Ray. If you're struggling with Prideful, try and use things like Mana Tide, Legendary, maybe using Heavy Rain for Conduit. There's a lot of different ways to optimize the Resto Shaman, and the main reason I place it in S tier when it comes to, well, I said, carrying these keys is that interrupt. And I know it sounds really weird, but on top of the fact, the damage of Resto Shamans has been increased with the buffs to Chain Lightning, their Lava Burst nerf was reverted, and you also have these DPS legendaries like, you know, the Earth Elemental legendary, which I feel can be really strong when it comes to dealing with like maybe prideful or trying to get bosses down. I have decided to make a list in this way, and I'm probably going to stand by this. I do feel that that single ability for Resto Shamans is going to carry them. I do feel that a lot of the healers here are really strong in pure HPS throughput and can deal with prideful really well. And I do feel that the healers in B tier require a bit more cooldown management, require a group that is more self-aware, that uses defensives, that uses healing pods. And believe me, there's a lot of people who still don't use healing pods and things like that. And I'm not saying that Holy Paladin, Discipline Priest cannot push the highest keys in the world, or any of these healers can be used to push really, really high content. But from my testing, in terms of getting that KSM or doing those plus 15 keys, I feel a lot of the healers, or a lot of these healers, are going to provide you with an easier and safer option when it comes to dealing with poke situations, unorganized groups, with bad affixes, and their healing rotation is not overly complicated. Guys, let me know how you feel about this video. I know this was long overdue. I know this is a long video. I wanted to kind of showcase my thought process behind why I feel each healer is strong. I want you to make up your mind about the healers that you feel are going to be good when it comes to getting this achievement. And like I mentioned at the start of the video, if you feel this video was interesting, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll try and do, or maybe we'll do this kind of video for every single season when it comes to Mythic Plus in Shadowlands. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.